Hey guys, Marcello here. So today I'm going to be doing a video on the best places to stay in Medellin, neighborhoods. Most of you that are already kind of looking into this see Poblado most likely and Laureles, which is probably two of the most popular options, and I would say two of the best options. So I'm going to go through the neighborhoods, show you where they're at, right? You're probably looking on Google Maps where your Airbnb and things like that. And I'm also going to kind of give you an overall overview of positives and negatives for each one. I personally have been here in Medellin. I tried to do the dates here just a moment ago. I think the first year I arrived was 2011. I've been living here permanently for probably, I want to say 8 or 9 years. A lot of businesses here, a finca, over 40, 50 employees. I have all kinds of stuff here. 9 beautiful Yorkie dogs. So I'm going to go ahead and show you step by step. All right. So this is a map. I'm going to turn on the video recorder here. This is a map of Medellin, which most of you are going to be looking, when you're going to be looking to renting a place, you kind of want to make sure it's close to things. And so I wanted to do it on a map so you guys can see it. And to kind of put this into a bit of a visual perspective, what I did was I took a picture of the barrios in Medellin and I put it vertically to show you kind of what it would look like left to right. So if you want to kind of tilt your head or the phone, notice this 14 light blue is Poblado, which is right around here where you see Parque del Poblado. This is all Poblado right here, right? Further down is Envigado, which would be all this right here. And then further down is another place called Sabaneta, which most people don't go there. I personally wouldn't recommend it, to be honest with you, but some people do like it. And then if we move back right over here, right here where it says Laureles Estadio, that's this whole blue area, which is Laureles Estadio. And that popular area is going to be right here where the Starbucks is at in Laureles. So most of you guys that are going to be heading to Medellin are going to be heading to Poblado. When I first got here, years ago, I stayed in Poblado, right, which is kind of where I think that everybody just arrives first, right? I had a beautiful penthouse. It was just up the mountain, just amazing. The views here are amazing. Then after I came back, I set up shop in a place called Estadio, which is right up here next to Laureles. And then I eventually ended up buying a penthouse. And I'll show you guys some views of that, which was in the main area of Laureles. So the advantage of Laureles is that, first of all, it's flat, right? Most of Poblado and most of Medellin, it's in a big valley, which is like this. So Laureles was the first place where kind of the higher end lived. So a lot of that is old money. There's a lot of cool gringos and a cool vibe going. There's all kind of restaurants and cafes and it's super cool the way they designed it. If I'm not mistaken, the man who designed Paris designed the barrio of Poblado, of Laureles. And that's why it kind of has so many little circles and in streets and everything like that. So Laureles, I used to prefer because it's a little bit more local. It has a little bit more local feel to it. There's also, even though there's a lot more foreigners there now, it's a little bit more authentic, right? The buildings are a little bit older, it kind of feels more local. And since it's a little bit flat, it's a little bit easier to get around. And just like Poblado, now is when there's been a huge little movement, let's say, of cool restaurants and cafes and digital nomads. There's new construction projects that are going up that are literally designed for digital nomads if you guys want to invest. And it's a really close area. And I'll show you guys here. I'm just going to look up for Starbucks I got the Laureles here. So this is Laureles. This is a big university, which is UPB. And then right here, these two parks is kind of where all the action is. There's a Starbucks right here on the corner. And then right here, a few blocks away of everything here, you have everything from everything foreign. If you guys are into that, McDonald's, Burger King, Starbucks, KFC. And then there's a lot of cool local places as well. And then there's a really, really local up here in Estadio, which I'll tell you guys a little bit about a little bit later. There's a street called La Setenta, which is kind of like a local place to go out, clubs and bars and restaurants and things like that. But it's super local. It's not kind of high end. So that's kind of Laureles. I would put Laureles on the second end of the spectrum. Number two, because Poblado has kind of gotten into this. I never used to like Poblado before because it felt like Miami Beach to me, or Miami, right? Where you go and it's like everything is new and everything is kind of what we're used to seeing in the United States. And so I wanted an authentic experience. But now there's a situation where one of the disadvantages of Medellin was that you didn't really have a lot of culture, right? You didn't have a lot of just cool things to see, you know, what you're used to seeing kind of when you go out, like Buenos Aires or Mexico City, more cosmopolitan thing, like French restaurants and that kind of thing. Everything, Medellin is still kind of like a big town. So the great thing about Poblado now, and I'm going to show you guys a map. So this is Poblado, all of this. Right here where it says Tres Trigos, this is where the majority of people are going to stay, and actually where I would recommend staying, because it's the further to the right you go here on the map, the steeper the hill. So right here between, I want to say Parque Lleras all the way to right here where this Diez Hotel is, there's a little bit of a hill, but not too much. And you can even go over here on this side where it says La Malia Oasis, which is a building I used to own, but I sold it. This is all called La Linde. So there's parts there of Poblado where they're just withdrawn enough, but just close enough where you can literally walk to all the action or take an Uber, but then be far enough away where you can still be in the nature or next to a creek and get that beautiful sound, which is really Medellin, what Medellin is all about. And I have a picture here of Poblado that I'm going to look for. This is right here is a picture of Poblado, and Parque Lleras, which is the most popular thing that you guys are going to see, is right here in the middle of Poblado. Inside Poblado are different areas called, you know, Parque Lleras and Provenza and Manila, which is coming up. So what I would recommend you guys do is look for Poblado. If you want something a little bit more local, I would maybe do something like Manila or Astorga. And then if you want something super, super local and you're not into a lot of partying and things like that, then you probably want to stay in Laureles. And if you want a super local experience or you have more of a budget like a backpacker, you know, you don't have that much money to spend, then I would recommend Estadio. So the other neighborhoods outside of Poblado and Laureles are places like Envigado, Sabaneta, and then if you really want to go local, you can go into Belén. So here in Parque Poblado, this is right here where Parque Lleras is in Poblado, and I'll just define this kind of for you. Just north, right here of Parque Poblado, right, just north of that, this right here is the area that's really spectacular that's called Provenza. So you have Parque Poblado, you come up here, you come into the Zona Rosa right here on the map, which is Parque Poblado, and then just north of that, which is this area right in here, and Esteban, draw it on the map for me. All this area right up here, which is just north of the part where it says Zona Rosa, all this right here, it's become this amazing place where there's all different kinds of restaurants. It's not that hilly, so it's super flat. So if you can find an area right in here, it's amazing. And then back here, it's called La Linde, and La Linde is where it's a little bit further away, so you might have to walk a little bit to get to the places that you want to go, but it's still close enough, and it's really, really great. And then over here, right over here is between the place where it says Carulla, Poblado, La Mayorista, all these little buildings right in here. That's a place that's coming up. It's a little bit further away, and then just south of this place right here where it says 43A, this yellow line, all this right here is Manila. And Manila is an up-and-coming place that has a lot of cool little restaurants. It's a little bit more local. That's really cool. And if you want to live a baller status, get an amazing view, you can go up further on the mountain here to the right. This is super, super hilly. It's literally like a hill like this. And so you'll have to probably either order food. If you want to get to somewhere, you can't really walk back up. You can walk down the hill, but you have to take an Uber or a taxi. And then the last few places, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend, are Sabaneta and Envigado. Sabaneta is a little bit outside of the city down here. So it's probably, I want to say for traffic, 30, 40, 50 minutes away from the city. And Sabaneta, it's like its own little, it's another city per se, right? It's another city district. And it has kind of its own thing going on where it has its own little party district, but it's super far away from a lot of the places where you want to be. It's a little bit far away where people are. A lot of the popular restaurants and things are a little bit far away as well. And I've heard of people having a lot of problems with water in Sabaneta because they did overdevelopment and they don't have things like water. I don't think you're going to necessarily have a problem in a hotel or things like that, but I just think it's too far away. Envigado, and I'm pulling it up here on the map so you can see kind of the linderos, or the borders of it. Envigado is technically a different city than Medellin, but it's literally right next to Medellin. It's kind of like Manhattan and Brooklyn, or in Tampa, where I was born, for example, like Brandon and Tampa, or in Miami, it would be something like Fort Lauderdale and Miami. It's literally right next to each other, but it's technically considered a different city. Envigado is super cool. The way I describe Envigado, it's kind of like Brooklyn, where it feels gritty. It's a little bit more local, but you still have a lot of the modern conveniences of a place like Poblado or Laureles. And it is a little bit cheaper as well. Now, the only disadvantage to Envigado is that the traffic getting in and out of there is just absolutely horrible. So right here, where you see the line of the border between Envigado and Medellin, that's called La Frontera. And the Frontera, the border, is right in between the two. But again, getting in and out of Envigado is literally absolutely horrible. I hate it. So while it's nice to get to places where you want to go, whether it's traveling to another city or going clubbing or going to a restaurant, they have a lot of individual areas inside of Envigado, but you're probably going to have trouble getting in and out, because when you want to go somewhere, it's a little bit of a pain in the butt. So that's kind of my overall breakdown. I think what I'll do is I'll probably do another video for you guys in a little bit more detail of things like Provenza and Manila and other places in Poblado, and then Laureles and Estadio. What I might do is go and kind of show you the surroundings to kind of give you an idea. Poblado is going to be the most expensive. Laureles is going to be second most expensive, but there's places that are relatively reasonable. And then you have other places like Envigado. Envigado, I would say, is number 3 most expensive. And then the cheapest options are going to be Sabaneta, Estadio, and then some places also in Laureles. And then Belén is on the other side of the mountain. So in the middle of the city, you see this there's a river that divides the city basically in two, because remember that Medellin is a valley. And so to the left side is literally all of Belén, which is a lot more local. There's not a lot of gringos there. It's kind of what Laureles was 10 years ago when I first got here, 11 years ago, but it doesn't have a lot of the modern conveniences that you would want, like cool cafes for digital nomads and things like that. So that's what I would kind of recommend. Before, years ago when I first got here, I would recommend Laureles. If you're on a budget, Laureles is going to be kind of the most cosmopolitan, or the coolest place to stay, that has kind of both the combination of cool things and then also what you look for when you travel, which is, cool restaurants and local people and that kind of thing. But Poblado, especially the Provenza area, and I'll try to pull up here. I don't think it has it on the map, but the Provenza area, which is all of this right here, just north of Parque Lleras, it's just turned into just an amazing place where you have all these kind of cool cafes and restaurants. There's trees everywhere, which is very popular in Medellin. There's a river that goes through there, a creek. So that would be my first option, just because you're literally central, you're close to everything. But if you want something a little bit more local, then go to Laureles. So I hope this has been helpful. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll probably start uploading a lot more videos on Medellin. I've been kind of just busy with business because I have all this kinds of stuff going on, but I have a lot of people that are asking me. They're traveling again. Obviously, they just removed the mask mandate here in Medellin as well. So if you want to see a certain type of videos, if there's a place I missed that you guys think were really cool, leave it there in the comments, and we'll see you next time.